What if the food that you've been told is healthy, those colourful, wonderful looking salads, green smoothies, and whole grains, wasn't just underwhelming, but actually actively harming you? What if they were poisoning you? What if the chronic diseases we see skyrocketing today, such as arthritis, hypothyroidism, allergies, what if these weren't simply genetic or lifestyle related? What if these were the result of long term exposure to toxins and poisons hiding in these so called healthy foods? Stay tuned because we're about to uncover how your healthy food might actually be slowly poisoning you. Now, this might sound shocking at first. I know it sounds absurd. I know how it sounds, but trust me, by the end of this episode, you'll be questioning everything you thought you knew about healthy foods. Today, we are talking about the hidden dangers in everyday foods, but especially some of the foods that we are told are very good for us, like vegetables, grains, and legumes. They're packed with something called anti-nutrients, toxins, or let's call them by what they actually are, poisons. These can actively undermine your health by not just blocking nutrient absorption, but poisoning you and triggering chronic immune reactions. First off, though, let's talk a little bit about the bigger picture. Have you ever wondered why we're seeing an explosion in chronic diseases? Why arthritis, skin conditions, allergies, and even hypothyroidism are becoming so common? 20 years ago, when I started medical school, I rarely saw a patient with any so called autoimmune problem. Rheumatoid arthritis, for example, was almost unheard of. It was the purview of 90-year-old women. But now 20-year-old men are being diagnosed with it and younger. Hypothyroidism was surprisingly rare. I was taught in medical school it was essentially a female condition, but now everybody has it. Eczema and acne were uncommon, but now it's rare to get these conditions. And this is the reality we're all living with. Chronic diseases like arthritis, autoimmune conditions, skin problems, and allergies are affecting more and more people than ever before, but nobody's stopping to question why. In the last few decades, rates of these autoimmune diseases have just massively exploded, and they're continuing to increase by about 5% per year. Hypothyroidism affects 12% of people around the world, while arthritis affects 1 in 4. Skin conditions like eczema and psoriasis are affecting millions of people worldwide, and allergic reactions have reached an all-time high, with about 30% of the population suffering from some kind of allergic disease. So why are we all so sick? This is where conventional or allopathic medicine, as we call it, is just horribly failing. We're simply not asking this question. Is it bad luck? I don't think so. I think it's the combination of modern diets, environmental toxins, and unfortunately, these poisons lurking in our food, and it's a recipe for disaster. So at a basic level, animals have kinetic defense, that is, running away, kicking, biting, scratching, and so on. Plants, however, can't run away from predators. They can't kick or bite. But just like animals, they don't want to die. So they need a way to protect themselves. They develop these poisons to protect themselves. These poisons, which I may refer to in this episode as chemicals to just make it a bit more simple, are what we refer to as anti-nutrients. They serve various functions in the plants, not just poison, but a big part of that function is as a poison. They might help the plant to survive, but in us, they can cause serious damage. And after all, that's really what they are mainly designed for. Here's some of the worst culprits that you might be eating. First, let me talk about oxalates. I've mentioned this a number of times because these are very problematic. They are extremely high in health foods such as spinach. They bind to calcium, leading to kidney stones, inflammation, and joint pain. Over time, they can also accumulate to form conditions like arthritis. They are also a leading contributory factor to things like iron deficiency. So much so, I now have 6 patients who've simply stopped eating spinach and their iron levels have vastly improved. All they've done is stopped eating spinach. They're intimately linked with breast problems, but not just benign, potentially cancer as well. I could go on forever about the dangers of oxalates, so let's move on. Next, let's talk about phytates. These anti-nutrients or poisons present in grains and legumes block the absorption of essential minerals like iron, zinc, and magnesium. This, of course, can lead to deficiencies that fuel fatigue, weakened immunity, and skin problems like eczema and psoriasis. Next up is lectins. You probably heard of lectins. Found in whole grains, beans, and nightshade plants like tomatoes and potatoes, Lectins can irritate the gut lining, leading to leaky gut and autoimmune diseases like rheumatoid arthritis and lupus. They also interfere with thyroid function, contributing in no small part to hypothyroidism. And last up, I want to mention goitrogens. These compounds, found mainly in cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, cabbage, and kale, can impair thyroid function, leading to hypothyroidism, especially in people already prone to thyroid issues. Let's break all this down further though. Arthritis, hypothyroidism, skin problems, allergies. These might be linked to the very foods you've been told are good for you that you've been told will help you with your conditions. Take arthritis, for example. Whilst it's often seen as an inevitable part of aging, research actually shows that the anti-nutrients in plants, particularly oxalates and lectins, can really aggravate inflammation in the body, triggering autoimmune responses that target the joints. It's no coincidence that people on plant-heavy diets very often struggle with chronic joint pain. Then there's hypothyroidism, a condition that's becoming alarmingly common. Did you know that cruciferous vegetables, touted often as superfoods, are rich in goitrogens? These substances interfere with iodine uptake, impairing your thyroid function, and leading to symptoms like fatigue, weight gain, and mood disorders. And if you're already vulnerable to thyroid issues of the family history, perhaps, these foods could make things much worse on top. Next up, I want to talk about the immune system. We can't forget allergies. Why are they increasing at such an alarming rate? It's not just genetics or pollution, it's probably what's in our food. Anti-nutrients like lectins, phytates, oxalates, and gluten can irritate the gut lining, leading to an overactive immune response. I'm sure you've all heard of leaky gut syndrome. If you haven't, make sure you check out my episode on that, where we're just getting more and more toxins through our body from our gut. Your immune system then starts to treat harmless things like pollen or perhaps certain foods as enemies. This is known as immune activation, where repeated exposure to plant toxins primes your immune system to overreact. Add to this the chronic exposure to environmental toxins, and you have the perfect storm for conditions like eczema, asthma, and food allergies. However, I must admit, it's not just what we're eating. It's also what we're breathing in and exposed to daily. Industrial pollutants, pesticides, and plastics particularly contain endocrine disrupting chemicals that make our immune systems even more reactive. The problem though when you combine this with a diet high in plant toxins, it massively increases your risk of autoimmune diseases and allergies exponentially. It leads to a 24/7 activation of the immune system, chronically on high alert. This chronic activation is not just tiring, but dangerous. Over time, this constant on state can lead to autoimmune problems where the body starts to attack itself, maybe often triggered by the very foods you're told are healthy and are part of the solution. Speaking of the solution, what is the solution? Should we ditch all plants entirely? Well, I know where I stand on that. I follow basically a carnivore diet. But I guess it depends a little bit on what you want to do and where your body's at. I think there's a very strong case for reducing or even completely eliminating these toxic plant foods from your diet. Thousands of people are thriving on meat-based, carnivore, or animal-based even diet if you do want to eat carbs, and this all cuts out plant toxins almost entirely. People see remarkable improvements in chronic diseases, inflammation, and energy levels. Many of my patients have resolved their autoimmune conditions, skin issues, even thyroid problems. I've seen the incurable being cured from switching to an animal-based or a carnivore diet. It sounds crazy, but I've seen these supposedly incurable conditions being cured. The approach of following an animal-based or a carnivore diet pretty much completely removes or vastly reduces these anti-nutrients, these poisons, giving your body a chance to relax and to heal. So what can you do? What's the bottom line? Well, I think really here, the bottom line is your healthy food might be poisoning you. The chronic diseases we're seeing in just epidemic proportions may not just be a consequence of lifestyle or genetics like we're told, but it could actually be the direct result of the toxins in your food. Cutting out the plant toxins and switching to a more meat-based, nutrient-dense diet could be the key to reclaiming your health. If you're ready to take control of your health, visit me over at themeatmedic.com to learn more about how to detoxify your diet, join the community, and explore the courses on how to start an animal-based or a carnivore diet. You don't have to keep suffering. There's a way to eat that's truly aligned with what is likely a proper human diet and proper human health. If you've enjoyed this episode, guys, please share it to your friends, colleagues, family. Hit a like, comment down below, let me know your thoughts. I'll see you in the next episode.